I don't believe in accidents, but I don't believe in fate either. You know, I'm a firm believer in that life is what we make of it, that no matter what we go through, we have our greatest gift is the ability to choose what we will do with that situation, what we will do with that belief, what we will do with that particular experience. It's like, are we going to take that and make the world a better place, or are we going to take that and become bitter and embittered and emblazoned to make other people miserable?
Mhm.
Because like I said earlier, that negative energy, it begets more. It's like a vortex. It's going to suck you in. Whereas positive is just the same thing. Positive begets positive. And I
Mhm.
choose to be positive. I choose to strive to be in a positive vortex and try and bring other people in.
Welcome to the Fifi Uncensored podcast, episode 26, part 2, with our guest Kory Koontz. And we sit down and talk about not only life experiences and the things it teaches and the things that we know are our purpose and what we need to pay forward. In this part of our discussion, it's really a personal journey that Kory shares about being a man who is dedicated to his Mormon practice, who is in a loving married relationship, and who has also recently announced that he's bisexual, and how we cover different aspects of things that he's experienced. And so it's a real treat to be able to share with you episode 26, part 2 of the Fifi Uncensored podcast with my guest, Kory Koontz. Take a listen, grab that coffee and cannoli, because here we go.
With anything in life, if it is not beneficial to you, then why? Why would you hold on to it? Why? You know, it just, to me, it's beyond me. It's beyond belief. Why would you hold on to something that is not benefiting you or anyone else for that matter? That's just, it's a little bit of toxicity in your life. Let it go. So I've always tried to live by that. I do not hold on to grudges. I do not keep anger. I just don't. And that's something that I've tried to pass on to my kids. It's like, let it go. And if they don't, it's like, well, you're the one that you're hurting. You're only hurting yourself. So
I think
anyway,
it's such no. Like there's anyway. It's like that was like you just traveled through the West and you found the biggest golden nugget. Because it's such an important thing to hear, because I don't think of myself as holding on grudges, but onto grudges, but I definitely see that there have been moments in time that there have been things that have occurred in my immediate experience where I could see how I've unconsciously carried forward things that never in a million years I would have ever thought I would have been capable of holding a grudge or being affected by somebody else's actions. And like you said, they're not sitting there going, "Oh yay, hurt Felicia.
yeah,
Ooh,
yeah,
yay me." And I'm still yay mean all these years later. On the contrary. And how has it benefited me? It's not benefited me. Matter of fact, on the contrary, it's can set you back. And for no matter how much I'm aware of, affirmations and how you show up being and how you can affirm, your mindset and mind, body, spirit, and all those things, I have no doubt that some of that, I mean, even ironically greater than, like, I don't hold a grudge towards my violator. Like, I just go, Thank you for teaching me. Not because I would ever, like I said, no, never, ever. That was not a
Yeah.
gift I was looking for. But my awareness and how I can show with people, oh no, that's a narcissistic sociopath. I would have never known what a narcissistic sociopath was had I not survived being with a narcissistic sociopath.
Right.
Now, did I want to be able to recognize those things? No.
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 But now you're in a position where you are actually a beacon to others because you've gone through that. And I
Yeah.
think that's the way it is with all of my life's experiences. And you know, you mentioned your producers being 29. I'm like, they've got a whole life to live.
It really, no, and it was so fascinating because as I was saying it to them, I was like, I want for them the very best. I mean, even as they're going to be producing this podcast, that was literally what was going through my head. And what was also really strange, and they'll laugh at this when they're producing this. My first abortion, going through abuse, was the year that they were born, the year I was supposed to birth my first children. And
Mhm.
I kind of aghast when this whole revelation during this interview was occurring. And I was like, oh my God, you literally could be my spirit babies. You
Yeah.
literally could be, and probably are, even though you have mothers who birthed you and all that. It would make perfect sense to me why you two are in my life. They are
Yeah.
best friends. One is mixed. One is, is fair and blonde hair. One is mixed with a, black and white. I'm like, everything makes total sense to me just in this moment of conversation. And I just love that you shared all that, Kory, because I know how devoted you are to, your practice, but I love how you have a much greater observation and acceptance of a greater plan or a greater source.
Purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because not all who are dedicated or committed to like one kind of practice has the
Hmm.
ability or chooses to see things from a greater umbrella kind of way, which can in turn make people not feel as included in a conversation or
Hmm.
seen or heard. Um, does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So it's like people, for me, the greater good that out there is I call him God. For
Mhm,
people that could just be the universe. Maybe
mhm,
it's just energy. I mean, for whatever it is, the one thing that I guess I'd say chaps my hide is the denial of a higher being or a higher power. It's like, what, you think this just all created itself? You think that you're here by accident? You think that, that no, you think that you've achieved this on your own? No, I'm sorry. No. You think that you've gone through what you've gone through, that, no. Like I said, I don't believe in accidents, but I don't believe in fate either.
mhm,
I'm a firm believer in that life is what we make of it, that no matter what we go through, we have our greatest gift is the ability to choose what we will do with that situation, what we will do with that belief, what we will do with that particular experience. It's like, are we going to take that and make the world a better place, or are we going to take that and become bitter and embittered and emblazoned to make other people miserable?
mhm,
Because, like I said earlier, that negative energy, it begets more. It's like a vortex. It's going to suck you in. Whereas positive is just the same thing. Positive begets positive. And I
mhm,
choose to be positive. I choose to strive to be in a positive vortex and try and bring other people in. Now, does that mean other people can't bring me down? No. But if I've allowed them to, it's because I've allowed them to. Yeah, other people's choices can certainly bring us down and take advantage of us, or can make us a mess or whatever. And but we can't blame them. You can't say, well, you made me this way. It's like, no, that's a cop out. You are choosing your reaction. If you don't like your reaction, choose differently. If you don't like the cards that you were dealt, well, then reshuffle the deck. It's your choice. That is the greatest thing that we have to do, is the ability to choose whatever we want. And so I look back and I say, would I have gone through this again? Well, if for the, I don't know, like you said, there are certain things that I wouldn't wish my divorce on anybody. Am I glad in retrospect that I went through it? Absolutely, because of what I learned. Are you glad that you were married to a reprobate? Probably not. Would you do it again? Probably not. But at the same time, can you look back now and go, look at what I gained because of that part of my life? Am I glad for that? Yes, I am. And I think that that's really what it boils down to here is like with all of life's experiences, what are you making with it? Are you taking these setbacks, these obstacles, and now that you've made it through, made it over, made it, around, whatever, are you helping somebody else getting there? Or are you just standing there going, haha, good luck, a-hole, right? What good is that going to do anybody? It's like stick your hand down there and lift them up. Don't be
Correct.
such a wiener. You were given this for a reason. Now you're standing here on higher ground. It's like lift them out of that muck, or at least show them the way, do something, right?
Oh my God, I so agree. And let me, to that point, and it's interesting because it's like raising people up and not holding grudges. It's to me like a fine line. And when you align with people, you know in your soul if it's a good alignment or not. And so, if you, as a teacher that you are, because you are a life teacher, there's no question you are, that if you see people who claim to be raising people up, but in their own manipulative way aren't, what do you say to people in that situation?
Uh, I try and find the good. I
Yeah.
had an experience recently with just say a relationship that I was treated badly. And
Hmm.
this was just, it was just a friendship type of thing. And
Hmm.
I was just treated badly. And to the point where, it was almost like, all right, I've had enough.
Hmm.
But at the same time, we kind of came to an impasse.
Hmm.
But I just, it's really, really strange. I think that we allow ourselves to be treated a certain way if we are, I don't want to use the word desperate enough, but if we are needy, too needy in a way that, not confident in, I can take care of myself here, or I'm looking for somebody else to fill this void or whatever.
Hmm.
Okay. So it kind of goes back to we accept whatever it is we feel like we deserve.
Hmm.
And I've had some really big ups and downs. I have been suicidal twice in my life.
Hmm.
And once was 30 years ago when I went through my divorce.
Hmm.
Once was 6 months ago.
Hmm.
And I was a mess 6 months ago. But it was because of, here I'd been diagnosed as bipolar 2 and I wasn't. And I was put on this mood stabilizer medication that I didn't need.
Hmm.
And I tried to go off of it cold turkey.
Ah.
And it's big mistake. And it was just like, my wife was like, this is not working for you. You need to get off of it. So I thought, okay, I'll just stop taking it. Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. And so this was Thanksgiving, actually, just this last year. And I think I had just stopped it a day or two earlier. And here I was trying to make Thanksgiving dinner and I was trying to make everything just perfect. And I asked my son to help me with this project that was impossible, and he knew it was, but he's like, no, what you're asking is a dumb task. I'm not going to help you with it. And I got all irate and got mad at him and said some things that I shouldn't and tried to do it myself and realized how stupid I was. But that was the beginning of my spiraling down. And again, not taking the medication, I went down quickly. And come Friday, I was to the point where, how can I end my life? And come
Hmm.
Saturday night, I went out and made some bad choices, and my kids were calling me on the phone, and I like, no, I'm not coming home. I'm tell your mother that I love her, but I'm not coming home. And I was thinking literally of driving up to the mountains and just off a cliff. Let's just end this. But it was this medication. It was
Mhm.
because, I wasn't in my right mind. It
Mhm.
caused me to make some choices and think ways that I normally wouldn't.
Mhm.
And my daughter gets a hold of me. It was like after midnight, I think, and I finally picked up the phone, and she's like, "Please come home." And I'm like, "No, no, you're all better off without me." And so she just stayed on the phone with me, and she's like, "Daddy, we need you. Please just come home." And somehow I made it home. And then the next morning I called the doctor's office and actually called, my clergy and got some help because I just realized I am not in my right mind. And so the doctor's like, "Okay, this is what I want you to do. Here's how you're going to wean yourself off. Do this
Mhm.
immediately." And in the meantime, I had this whole support system now from that time on. So
Mhm.
I was able to get through this part of my life. And, that's when I went to the psychiatrist. It's like, what is going on with me? Why did this happen? And so that was the end of last year. And so here we are, June 1st, and it's been a road to come back. But then I look back and think, okay, you went through this again for a reason. It'd been 30 years since the last time that I had felt like that or been that low where I'd actually was to this close of doing something that you can't return from. But again, it puts me in a position now of really of empathy and authority to where whatever it is that people are going through, I really have been there, done that. And one of the reasons that, my depression was so bad when I was in my 20s is because I didn't accept who I was. And it's taken me, this whole point in my life. One of the things that the psychiatrist had mentioned, she goes, "You need to embrace all parts of you." And so, one of the things that you know about me, Felicia, is that I'm bisexual, right? And so it was a part of me that it's why I hated myself when I was younger because I thought I don't like this side of me, especially being a religious man and growing up faithful and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, also known as, being Mormon. You get that's like, no, I'd rather be dead than gay type of thing. And unfortunately, there are so many young people in the church that feel that same way and end up making really bad choices and, things like that. And so now I see the church as trying to be more inclusive, but at the same time, it was like I was almost challenged to accept. And it's like, you need to embrace that part of you. You need to embrace that and love that part of you as well. And it's something that over the years, I've been able to admit, okay, well, this is a part of who I am. But because I also have this relationship with my wife, I made a commitment to her to be a father, to be a husband. It's a part of my life that I don't seek out. But at the same time, that has caused me pain and it just confusion and wanting to have this acceptance and love and whatever from another man. But so here, if I can make a very, very long story short, what I have found is that sexual intimacy and emotional intimacy are two separate things.
Mhm.
And I can have that love and faithfulness with my wife and have that sexual intimacy that is something that I only share with her. Whereas because I've got this heart and I love people, I can share multiple pieces of my heart with many people. And if I give them out and they get stomped on, that's just part of life's lessons. If I give them out and people, return a bit of their own to me, wonderful. And I think that that's something that I've been seeking over the years was that side of me to be fulfilled. And it has been in ways. And, Colleen is very, very accepting of me wanting to find those types of emotional connections with other men. And she's just like, just don't cross that line.
Right.
And and so she's very trusting and open about me having these male friendships and these, buddies and, travel buddies or cuddle buddies or whatever. And because it's like a matter of, I trust you to remain faithful to me, that this is something that only we will share. And so it's just another big part of my life that's been a big part of my life, I guess you could say. Just something
Well, it
that,
is who
again,
you
of
are.
self-discovery. Yeah, it's part of who I am. And so the fact that, here we are, it's June and it's Pride Month. Um, Again, with the challenge of, how can I be more open and accepting of who I am? Well, on Facebook now, I've actually sought out these pages, the LGBTQ members of the LDS Church. These rainbow hikers, just these, bisexual, married people type of thing. And I've tried to incorporate myself a little bit into these groups just to discover a little bit more of my identity and be more accepting of who I am. Instead of trying to deny it, or push it under the rug or whatever. It's like, love all of me. And again, I think that it's a way that I can be a bridge between my religion and these communities, especially with these young people that are so hurting right now, as I was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And again, having had this time to maneuver these waters now, and have learned what I've learned, and even, the failures, the setbacks that I've had, it still has put me in a great position of empathy, of love, of authority, where I can say, hey, this is how I maneuvered these waters. It's like, look at David Archuleta. Okay,
Yeah.
so here he's a member of my faith,
Mm-hmm.
and he's come out as queer, and he's having a very difficult time trying to maneuver or reconcile the church side, the spiritual side, with the physical side, with the
Mm-hmm.
the David side that wants to be loved and accepted, and and queer, and out there and all that. And so I wrote him a letter. I don't think he ever received it, but I tried to tell him my story and said, David, you can have whatever you want in life, right? This is how I made it. And this is my choice. And this is, 29 years later, here I am now with 5 children and a grandson. And I'm out and accepting. And, I could say, am I still proud that I'm bisexual? I don't know if I can go there, but at least I can admit that's a part of who I am. And it does put me in a position now where, number one, I can feel for people that are confused or scared or lonely or feel conflicted because of the religious side of them, and the moral implications that brings, as well as the need to be accepted, and the wanting to have a relationship with your higher power, or your God, or your being, or whatever, the universe. And
And your
there is,
community, and your
and the
community,
community, and the
and
community.
your communities, multiple
Yes,
communities.
right, right. So how can I be a part of maintaining my spiritual side, plus be a part of this, the LGBTQ community, and be accepting of me, and all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, interestingly enough, 10 years ago, Colleen and I we told my story, and it was on a video called Voices of Hope. And people can Google it and they can look it up, but it tells a story about the LDS side of me, the Mormon boy
Mm-hmm.
that went through the divorce and wanted to make choices that was according to the religion, but still very conflicted. But it tells my whole story. And this was 10 years ago. And it was at a time where, okay, let's be open and accepting about who you are. Let's try and share this with other people that might be in pain, or might be confused, or might have questions. Well, interestingly enough, the Deseret News, which is the newspaper in Utah, the Salt Lake Tribune, they picked it up for a Sunday morning front page editorial, and didn't bother to tell me that they were going to run the article. So I got outed, so to speak, on the front page of the Sunday paper. And Colleen picks up the paper and she's like, "Oh my gosh, you better sit down." And I'm like, "What's the matter?" She says, "Did the Desert News, or did the newspaper call you at all?" And I'm like, "About what?" And she turns it around. I'm like, no. And so that day I go to church, and it just like all eyes on me, because who hadn't read the paper, who hadn't talked about it. But at the same time, it gave me that this is not a bad thing. You don't have to be ashamed of this. And since that time, God has been speaking to me in ways that he says, you need to be more accepting and out there of who you are. Yes, you are my son. So yes, I can say I'm a covenant son of God. That's who I am. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a grandpa, but I'm also a bisexual male that's trying to find his way in this life and trying to maneuver the best that I can to live my truth. And I've been condemned for living my truth. I've had people say, well, you're a fake, you're a phony because you're living this lie. And it's like, how am I living a lie being in a monogamous relationship with a woman that I would love with all my heart, a woman that I would give my life for? And the fact that I enjoy that side of our marriage, the very physical side of it. So we do have a very intimate relationship that way. And I enjoy all aspects of that part of the marriage. So I think, people say, well, you've never experienced the other side. Well, I said, well, does that make me, inauthentic because I'm not going to cheat on my wife in order to go and find out what that would be like?
Mhm.
Why does that make me living a falsehood? Just let me live my truth and don't condemn me for it. And I find that there are a lot of haters out there, and they're just, I don't know where they come from or why they do it, but it's like, you're a phony, you're not authentic, you're this, you're that, you'll realize one of these days. It's like, this is my truth. I can have a relationship with my maker. I can have a wonderful, compelling, intimate, fulfilling relationship with my wife. I can have a wonderful relationship with my children. I can be a father. I can be a husband. I can be a man that is seeking out relationships with other men because I know that I'm looking for that intimacy, but it does not have to cross a certain line. Why does it have to go sexual in order to become fulfilled? I find that it's like, look at monogamous couples. Are they unfulfilled in their monogamy, whether they're straight or bisexual or homosexual? I say no. Look
Right.
at, just, yeah, exactly. So, but I have been condemned for having made this choice for not being authentic enough to go out and cheat on my wife. And
I
I'm
mean, I
like,
don't, sorry, didn't mean to cross over. I just don't see how you can be inauthentic when you're being the most authentic. It's like a contradiction in the actual truth. And
yeah,
I also think it's everybody else's fear that, again, they're putting upon you versus having to do with anything that you stand for, which I think is ironic in the whole thing and the whole aspect of who you show up being. Because again, I think it's really interesting how environmentally people think it's okay to impose their shit on something that's so pure and so true, you know, um, because this is between, like you said, it's between you and your maker, it's between you and Colleen, it's between you and your children, it's between you and your grandchildren, it's between you and who you can lie in bed with and sleep at night and stand in the mirror and look at yourself and your truth. And like you said, it's enough for you to go. You didn't ask to be born bisexual. That is something you were born as. That's not something you man-made created, I think, personally. That's just my
right.
opinion. Nobody chooses whether they're going to be straight or gay or transgender or green or blue or purple, whatever. They just don't. Um, yes, we have choices in life. You are consciously making choices in life, which is to honor your marriage, to honor your God, to honor your practice, to honor how you stand in your own body. And you've made choices to be accountable for those things in the manner that you are. And it's really interesting because we are recording this on the very first day of Pride Month, June 1st, 2023. And it is interesting. I reposted today a conversation, an interview I had with one of two parents. I had interviews with both parents because their child during the pandemic came out to them as a transgender. And I had interviews with both parents separate of each other to get their experiences emotionally and intellectually about being the parent of a child who was born female and sees himself as a male, and how that has had the cause and effect. And I was I reposted it today because of what this country is going through currently politically with legislation, and how there's so much imposing environmentally of beliefs of what people can and cannot do because of religious positionings, or because of people's fear-based mongerisms, or whatever it is, and how people can or cannot get the mental health issues, or the healthcare issues, or the educational spaces, or just living one's life in their truth, that or being a parent of a child, or being in fear of your child's safety, or just the honest to God truth of the safety of a human being, and
Yes.
whether or not they will or will not take their life because of all of the environmental stuff around them that doesn't support who they were born to be.
Yes. Yeah. So I think of all of my life's experiences. They've just shaped me to who I am. And I like most of the time who I am and how I try and treat others. And so there are aspects of my life that I find great fulfillment in. I find wonderful fulfillment in being a member of my church community because I
Mhm,
have this relationship with my creator
mhm,
and in a sense with my savior. And I have great fulfillment in my relationship as a husband and as a
mhm.
father. I have great fulfillment in being able to utilize my talents, which is something that I want to share with you next. But
Yeah.
I right now I'm a supervisor at Costco, and I find so much fulfillment in doing that because I can just make somebody's day by how can I help you? How can I find something for you? How can I, just give them a smile and uplift them? How can I solve this conflict, or how can I whatever. But I just find that I love being there at Costco. Number one, because the environment is just, it's so fun. It's so fast paced. And, again, with my anxiety, I need fast pace. I need to go, 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 go. And if I find my anxiety is kind of going through the roof, I'll go out and push some carts just because it allows me to get that physical, that angst out. But I just find that, I'm putting myself now where I'm making choices that are going to be beneficial to not just me, but how can I put my best self out there on a daily basis? And people, I wear my heart on my sleeve. So people know when I'm not having a good day. And they're like, Kory, where's that smile? And I'll be like, okay, I'll fake it till I make it. And
Mhm.
eventually it'll be there. Right. So it's just like, okay, whatever it is you're going through, people are depending upon you to lift them up. And Colleen taught me a great lesson here 6 months ago when I went through that bout of depression. She's like, it was really tough love, but she's like, stop being such, a selfish, self-centered butthead. Do for others and your problems won't seem so major. And it's so true. So whenever I find myself getting into my muck or myself, it's like, what can I do for somebody else? Because now my problems are non-existent. What can I do to put a smile on somebody else's face? What can I do to serve my fellow man? What can I do to show love for my neighbor? What can I do to minister to somebody else? What can I do for my children? And it's really that kind of an attitude that will disperse the clouds in our life. You do for somebody else. You lose yourself in service, whatever that looks like. And no matter what SHIT you're going through, it's going to make it seem your burdens will be so much less because now you're not focusing on, oh, poor me, what about
Right.
me? It's like, what can I do to lift this other person? And so what I love about your journey, what you've gone through, and you'll have to forgive me here, because with everything, this absolute hell that you've gone through these last few months, you have been able to take your journey and say, look, not at me, but hey, look at what life has to offer. Don't waste it. Don't waste a minute of it. Live each day as if it's your last. Do something for others. Do something to make the world a better place. Do something to share your gifts, your talents. Do something to let your light so shine. Again, whatever that looks like. That's a biblical reference, but at the same time, what are you doing to become a beacon for others? And I look at this beautiful woman in front of me with no hair. And but I just think about the pain that you've gone through and the suffering that you've gone through, but not a complaint. A matter of, okay, do I want this journey? No. Am I glad I went through this? Maybe not. Would I go through it again? Absolutely not. But it's a matter of, what can I do with it? What can I do to help others that are going to be going through? Because I'm just one of a drop in the bucket of people that have gone through this. And what's really interesting now is that it's a real segue. It's like, that I've written a book,
Mm-hmm.
and I kill everybody off with a virus. And I said it in the future, and I started it pre-COVID, right? And I had no idea that COVID
Yeah.
was coming up.
Yeah.
But what I do with this book, it's called, here you go, people. It's called Oracle Emergence. Yeah, I've got my copy right here too. And in my preface, it's basically in my prologue, I have this family, and this I wipe out 25% of the population on the first page. So sorry, California, the San Andreas fault goes off, you're destroyed. Goodbye. So is everybody along the whole West Coast. Okay, you don't stand a chance. But that causes cataclysms across the world, which kills 25% of the Earth's population. But it also releases an airborne virus within the year that kills 99.99 of everybody else. And it puts them into a death-like sleep. And the people that wake up are forever transformed. They're
Mm-hmm.
either, they're either the poor me's, or they're like, wow, look what I can do.
Mm-hmm.
And so my book is about a man that does not know that he has the ability to change society for the better, because he loses everything, and he wakes up and he's like, why am I here? And so the first chapter is his journal about the whole first year of his life and what is happening during this emergence. And then of course the the last 20, the last bit of the book, you could say the last three quarters of it, or even the last 5/10, I don't know, the 80% of it is all over about the last week of what happens when he tries to take on that responsibility. And so the point is, I've taken what I have learned about myself and written it into this character of, what can I do to make somebody else's life better? Even
Mm-hmm.
though I didn't ask for this, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't ask for these tragedies. What can I do to find happiness for other people now, as well as myself, in this horrific situation? And so it's kind of a science fiction fantasy, a little bit of hope. There's I could say it's sprinkled with a little bit of faithfulness and, pixie dust, as far as the universe is calling out to you or reaching out to you in some way, and expecting you to rise to the challenge. And, interestingly enough, this came from a dream. And I had a dream about this dystopian society, and some of the things that were happening in it. And I just, it's been a labor of love that I started 6 years ago. And now I've got the book in hand, and let's see what we can do with it, again, to make the world a better place. Because it's one of these things that hopefully as people read it, it'll be like, they'll see a little bit of their own trials in it. They'll see a little bit of their own angst in it. They'll see a little bit of the sufferings that they've gone through, and be like, okay, I don't have to stay here. So
Well, it's a great way to, and it's so fascinating because it's a great way to be able to culminate all those aspects of things into a fictional yet relatable way of telling story that people can go, oh, wait a minute, step back. And it is interesting as you talk and share, and the no accidents versus, fates and what have you, and not choosing versus choosing, and taking action and showing up, and how one shows up and doing it selflessly versus selfishly. What I didn't know as you were sharing was I didn't know what was going on with you last November. Because when you were actually going through that was when I was getting my diagnosis. And the choices one had to make, and how one had to show up, and how one had to take action. And I always say that it's, first off, I'm so, and I understand why it happened, because of the chemical in your body. Aside from how you've been chemically disposed naturally, so to speak, to have that chemical in your body, that's the interesting thing about science and chemistry, and how it can alter one's chemistry for the good or not. And I'm really, really sorry that you went through that. And I'm really, really sorry that you had that experience. And yes, knowing you as you are, the gifts that you've taken, and thank God for Colleen's perspective to help wake you into that, like, hey, let's not be selfish, let's be selfless, blah, blah, blah. And one of the many things that I've learned during especially the pandemic, and I kind of take this point in time as a kind of an anniversary period, because well, for one, just in this initial 6 months, what you were going through and how you've been getting through and how you've been building from is obviously exactly in my own journey, a very similar path, just a different science of effects, but yet completely like, oh, no surprise, Kory and Felicia are like running a similar like marathon, but with a few little different scientific conversations. And one of the reasons why, as I've shared with you, that I went public was not to talk about I've now been diagnosed with ovarian cancer, but was to say, wake up, people. Advocacy is everything. Using your voice is everything. Asking questions is everything. And, and here are the reasons why. And yes, I do hope that sharing my journey in the different ways, whether you're seeing me work out, or you see me without a hat on, or you see me with my loving family and my animals, or who I'm saying that I show up being and am, and my willingness to do that is because if not now, then when? And right. And if not me, you too. And I'm about to post this stuff when we finish. I was doing my workout today, and I'm talking about, how life is a gift, moving our body is a gift, and here are the reasons why. And or showing my private studio, because I've been a coach off and on throughout my life. Many people have no idea. I even recently mentioned it because of this bench that has my name on it now at this summer camp, that I was a counselor. And it's not that they chose it or I chose it. It was actually the women who are now grown, successful adults who were my campers in my family during the age of 18 and 23, because we had made a decision to make a donation to the camp, and how did we want that to show up looking? And we just made a decision that we wanted to be a bench overlooking the lake where many people could sit and, you know, put their toes in the sand and look up at the stars and see the moon and hear the loons singing and have this experience and create these memories, one of many, many, many that we carry forward today and have from our past. And and literally was shared with me the morning of that I learned that I was in remission. I mean, like, I still have chills. I mean, powerful. And I did not choose the name. The girls chose the name. And that's what's on this bench. And my point is that I did learn the greatest gift that in the last 3 years that we have is to step away from who you are and selflessly show up, because we never know what we have to share from what we've learned could actually help somebody else in the process of what they're going through, which is why I went public, which was super, super scary, by the way. Well, I remember that day, and I remember having recorded my emotions, so to speak, in my hospital bed. And I may have shared this with you, how this female who reminded me of what I refer to as an older version of a Gilda Radner, Lisa Lubner kind of, character. This woman had salt and pepper like Bob, and like the oversized sweater, and like the full length kind of downturned knee skirt with the knee socks, and like the oversized tennis shoes, and walks in from the rabbinical group within the hospital asking if I wanted a blessing or a prayer. And I was like, man, I'll take all the blessings and prayers I can get right now, kind of thing. And we sit down and have this really heart-to-heart conversation, and very philosophical and almost TED Talk like. And that's when I revealed to her how I had just recorded this piece. I didn't even know what he said. Like, I was so stream of consciousness, I had no idea what I had said, but I felt like it was something very similar to the discussion we had just had. And I had asked her if she had a willingness to listen to this piece that I had recorded, for just the sake of just somebody who had no attachment to me at all, but could just hear in a very neutral way what it was that I had recorded, because I felt like it might be potentially something that could help others. And so she did. She listened to it. And when she finished listening, she took one look at me as I'm in my hospital gown in my hospital bed and went, who are you? And she was like, how do you just go through everything you've just been through, and you're trying to help other people through your experience? Like, it is mind-blowing to me right now. Like, you really need to be doing public speaking and all these things. Those are not statements I'm saying as an ego. These are these things that she was like basically channeling through her. My point is that it takes courage to show up. It takes courage to write books. It takes courage to speak your truth. It takes courage to try to inspire others through you being an example. It takes courage. Nobody does ask for these things in life. But what then do you do with it? Do you sit and mull over it going, oh, woe me? No different than how we started this conversation when you asked, how am I doing? How am I feeling? And when I authentically say to you, wow, I never knew there was a journey after the journey, i.e., like you wake up and go, what the hell was that? And process that. And the reason why I'm so open about it and why I discuss it is because I know that I have to process those emotions to get to the other side, to get through it, because otherwise it's going to show up some other way. And I don't want that. And so I'd rather stay present and process it now and be authentically honest about it and wake people up again and tell people, hey, by the way, I woke up a week after going through, my last chemo treatment and accumulatively being so ill. And then I went grocery shopping to get food for the family. And I came home that night when Randy was working, and I sat down, and for basically the next 3 days, I did not stop eating. because I was like trying to nurture little Felicia, going, what the fuck was that I just went through? And I almost couldn't stop doing my hand in my mouth, and their relationship could barely stop. I was just like, trying to nurture every little thing that I just gone through the last 5 months, now 6 months.
Yeah.
And I had to say, whoa, Felicia, whoa. Like, do not go back into old patterns. Yeah, this is what you've been through. Now you can feel your feelings, but you don't have to also harm yourself by eating through it.
Yes.
Walk through it. You can share that you've been going through it. You can reach out to your support community, and you can work through it. And it might take a moment, but it doesn't have to take 2 years. Maybe it will take a month or 2. And more importantly, you can teach other people that this is part of what you never hear people talk about. And if I'm going through this has got to be what other people go through. And, no different than what you've been through. We have our different illustrations of what we go through, but at the end of the day, we're all the same. At the end of the day, we're all connected. At the end of the day, this is why we share. This is why I do this podcast. Some people might be like, well, why the hell doesn't she just talk about makeup and hair? Why? Because I'm a layered onion of curiosity, and I love people, and there is no conversation I do not want to have around this campfire. And that's why we talk about everything from soup to nuts, or like I say, from cannolis to egg in the holes, and don't forget the s'mores. Because as I coined the phrase, our spirit is young, our souls are wise, and our life experiences are vast. And sharing them and having these kind of conversations that most people don't take the time to have and connect, because they're so detached from one another, or so scared, or they're going to present the best side of themselves versus the real side of themselves, to me is, bullshit. And I have no time for bullshit. And if anything, when you survive a life-threatening disease or suicide or whatever, there is no time for bullshit, people. Wake up, connect, converse, share, because you never know what you're going to discover about each other. And you never know how you can heal one another, or you can lift people up. And you don't have to go to church for it. This to me is like a church. This to me is like going to temple. This to me is like joy. This to me is like, I have had more people walk away from these things going, I have no idea how we just spent 2 hours together. It flew right by. Because we're really so deeply engaged in ways organically that you would never have known how this conversation was going to go, and nor do I, because I'm not trying to control it. I'm trying to be just present to
Yes,
the authenticity of what is possible if we give it an opportunity to be.
yeah.
And
I find that. Oh, go ahead. I was going to
no,
just add something.
please go.
Oh, I was going to say that is the epitome of living life, is just let it be. And in the case of, if something is negative, let it go. But if something is coming your way, well, don't run from it, embrace it. Because now you really will be in a position where you are the authoritative figure. You can lift somebody else. You can help somebody else. You can light the way. And I really think that, going back to, for people that are religious, it's like, let your light so shine so that you may glorify your God, which is in heaven, because God wants us, my belief is anyway, that God wants us to be all that we can be. And that he doesn't place limitations on us. And as a teacher, I did not place limitations upon my students, and I would just see them soar. And I was just so proud of their accomplishments, because I didn't tell them, oh, you can only go so far, right? You can have it all. And that's, I think, the message that I want to share with people. And it's like, even through this, it's like, here's a tragedy, 1 out of 10,000 people survives this calamity. But at the same time, what are you doing with the life that you've been given? So if you're 1 out of 10,000, live your life to its fullest. Whatever the tragedies that you've been through, use them to your advantage. Okay, let that be a part of you now. Let it be a part of your makeup that just makes you a better person, stronger for it. You know, the old cliche, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. Well, I know that you're looking at having suicidal tendencies or having been through cancer now twice, that you're coming this close to, it's like, well, you've got a few months. It's like, no, you don't tell me what is not, you tell me what's possible. Well, this is possible. Well, then that's what I'm going to go for. So in this case, what doesn't kill us does make us stronger, because now we can tell other people's, hey, this is possible. If somebody says it's not possible, tell them to shut the hell up, right? Say, just get out. I don't need negativity. And if somebody is being negative with you, step away, shift. If you're in that negative space, shift, make a physical, emotional, mental shift, whatever that looks like, because it's your choice.
Mm-hmm.
You can stay there and you can wallow in your mire if you want to. But as Colleen taught me, get outside of yourself, look outside of yourself, do something for somebody else. And then all of a sudden, your troubles are nothing, because there's always somebody that's worse off. Always. There's always somebody
100%.
that could use a hand up, or uh,
100%.
a kind word, a smile.
100%.
There
Yes,
are so many things that we can do
there
for
really
others.
is. Be a leader. Don't be a
Yeah,
follower. Be,
right. Walk by on the street and smile at people. I have
mhm.
people that will give me the funniest looks, but then they'll smile back. It's like, why are you smiling at me? Because in a way, I'm saying I care about you. I
Mhm.
may not know you, but you're my brother, you're my sister, you're my neighbor. And and as trite as it may sound, I love you. And
And
I
treat
just think,
others as you want to be treated,
yeah, it really is.
kindness, with
If I
kindness.
can, if I can show kindness, and if I can give somebody a smile, you never know how it's going to come back. And that's the thing, is you don't expect it to come back. You cannot do things with expectations of, this is going to come back to me. It's like, what can I do to make somebody else's day, whatever that looks like, a little bit better, with no expectations whatsoever. It's called unconditional, love. The way we treat our family members, we should treat them with unconditional love and kindness, with no expectations. And I think that as I'm trying to build up, these friendships, these relationships, the mistake that I've made has been having expectations. And it's like, you know what? I'm just going to put my heart out there. I'm just going to love you because that's who I am. And if it comes back to me, great. If it doesn't, you know what? Then that's your loss. You missed out
100%.
on a great thing here.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I look at again these 3 years, because these 3 years have been so, like, where it's put our planet on us in a space where there's been, like, where we're all in it, where we've always all been in it, but it was like a little bit more was like revealed. And I know at this very time, the things that I was learning was about limited beliefs and managing expectations.
Oh yeah.
And it has really been a lot to crack, whether it's around me or within myself, things that I didn't know that I was dealing with, or things that I didn't know I was surrounded by, or both. And like you as a teacher, one of the reasons why the camp and Camp Fifi Uncensored exists is because I never put limitations on the girls that I was raising during the summer. And that's why they were so successful, as well as I think it was my first experience in mothering, and why it was so joyful and has carried me so far forward in my life. I also think that I realized how I allowed for others to environmentally affect me, and how I've had to break those molds
Oh
and
yeah.
be the example of those, like, takeaway, takeaway, takeaway. And I think of life as a living sculpture. It's like I always say, you walk into the room as you're working with this piece of clay and you walk in and go, oh, the tushy needs a little like, maneuvering here today, Mountain, so to speak. Oh, I didn't see that. Okay, I'll go. And it is an adjustment. And it's not about perfection. It is about the constant willingness to show up and take action, be responsible, be accountable. What part did I play? How can I effectively go through things? Look at, I look at business, for instance. Business is about the desire, the talent, the gifts, timing, good fortune, and then things also happen that you have no control over. And how are you going to show up and be the greatest asset to yourself and others in that process? And that is true also with aligning with human beings. There are going to be human beings who are going to mirror you in the most blissful of ways, who really are, they really know how to transcend their environments. And there's going to be other people who are sadly going to be, going to show up doing well in business, but they might be so damaged that you don't even understand how they may feel like they pull you down. It is then up to you to wake up and to say, I don't need to be a part of this. This is not my truth. And I think that life is a series of events that, as children, as we said, we may not have control over. As we develop, that we do have control over. You supervise at Costco. Do you have control over every individual that walks through that store, and every individual that works at that store, and every vendor that delivers and distributes at that store? No. All you can do is conduct in the most beautifully orchestrated way in your part, in your Kory Koontz way. And the rest of it, it's like you gotta, like you said, let it go and let it be. And I think that those things though are learned things. And I think that comes with enlightenment. And I think that comes with when you have, go ahead.
Experience.
Experience. I was just going to say, I think it comes with when you've gone through the things that we've gone through, that you get to come out the other end. And I just know for myself, just coming out of what I've come out of and gone through, that there are things that I'm shaking up and going, wait a minute, I don't need to participate in this. Or wait a minute, I freaking know how to get back up on a horse. I rode horses, I showed horses, and I know how to ride these horses. So get the hell out of my way, because I am a goddamn good horseback rider. And I just want to say, because we'll wrap it up. I just want to say, what a gift. I mean, this is a conversation that you and I have never had in a full realm this way. And if it's a gift for me to have experienced and a joy for me to know you, I can only imagine for somebody who's driving their car listening to this conversation, that most likely will be a two-part conversation. And the takeaways that people will have from it, and the wait a minute, what did they say moments, and the wow, really, like scratch your head and like, I just need to get out of my way kind of things. And how the greatest gift, I hope, the takeaway for anybody listening is that you have the power to do anything.
Yeah, you have the choice to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And to do anything with what you've been given, no matter if it's good or bad, or if it's just an experience. It just is. You may think, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, okay, as we both talked about. But at the same time, it just is an experience that we are given, so that we can take that and hopefully learn from it. And not only that, but now be a teacher, a healer, a person of light, a beacon, a hope, a causeway, whatever.
Yeah.
And I just think that, I look back now and go, I'm still in denial about my age, so I, I hit, I hit that milestone in September, the one we don't mention.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, what have you learned in your last
Yeah.
so many decades? But at the same time, it's like I'm still learning. I am a work in progress. And dang, if I bet I won't go through the school of hard knocks a few more times. And I'm okay with that. As long as I can learn something new that puts me in a position where now I can teach it to someone else, then I'm like, okay, bring it on. I'm okay with whatever it is. And
100.
it's taken me this long to accept, and love that part of me that, again, we've talked about today being the first day of Pride. Okay, that's a part of who I am. And I don't have to be ashamed of it. I don't have to look at him and go, oh, well, you're bad because whatever. And, and certain beliefs that we have, whether they be because of religion or, faith-based or imposed upon other people, it's really a matter of, do you accept you?
Mm-hmm.
Can you take the lessons that you've been given, the trials that you've been given, and the mire that you've had to wade through that has made you who you are, but now let that be a beacon for somebody else, whatever that looks like. And I think now, having gone back, looking back on our lives, Felicia, I bet we'd say, yeah, I would have done this differently. Yes, I wouldn't want to go through this. Yes, whatever. But at the same time, I can honestly, sincerely, truthfully, and without guile say, I am grateful
Mm-hmm.
for what I have gone through because it has helped mold me into who I am. And dang it, I like me. And I am enough. I am good enough. I am strong enough. I am man enough. And I genuinely love people. And if people can't let me live my truth, then I don't have time for them. I don't need them in my life. And
Yeah.
if you're going to be a naysayer out there, if people are naysayers to you, so anybody that's listening, if people are naysayers, you don't need them in your life. You don't need toxicity. You don't need negativity. You make a shift and you choose something different. You choose to take whatever it is that you've been given and, whether it's lemons, make lemonade out of it. If it's cancer, then talk about your story. If you've been suicidal, talk about what that was like for you and how you came out on the other side and how it's not the end of the world and how life is worth living. If you hate yourself because you don't like your identity, well, then that's a journey in and of itself, and
Mm-hmm.
that's more than just one day of, oh, okay, I love and accept me. No, I'm not gonna kid you here. That might take a very, very long time. But what you can do is find one person that supports you, and that will beget another and another. And you're going to start surrounding yourself with this very positive vortex of people and energy that will help you come to terms and to love yourself. If you can't right now, then find somebody that will love you or says, I love you unconditionally. I accept you for who you are, because they can be that beacon, that light to help you finally love and accept you as well.
Here,
So
here.
it's just a matter of be that person. If you can be that person for somebody else, wonderful. If you can't, then the first step is to find that person. And you put
Mm-hmm.
it out there to God, put it out there to the universe, put it out there to the higher power and say, send me somebody. I know there's somebody that has been there, done that. Send them to me so that I can get through this. And then when you are through, now pay it forward.
Correct. Yeah. I love you so much, Kory.
You too,
Such
my darling.
such an incredible human being. You are really such a gift. And I'm so fortunate to call you my friend and my brother. I really just like you. You wow me beyond words can describe. And I'm so grateful that I was blessed and Randy was blessed with you in our lives, and just can't get enough of you. And I think we have a lot more talking to do. I could see us doing our own little show, frankly. That's just
Yes.
how powerful this little bit was. And
Let's do it. The
yeah,
Kory,
no,
the
I'm
Felicia
serious.
Kory
We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that for sure. And yeah, because we have there's just a lot of, it's like the bagel and the cream cheese and lox all together makes a delicious meal. Yeah. So I
It's
just
like
want
life experience with Felicia and Kory.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I just feel like let's just kind of kick the door open. So again, I want to thank you for taking these last 2 hours to spend with me and to share your truth, and because it's really, really powerful. You touched on many things that I know will positively open people's eyes and affect people in a way that, no matter where they're coming from, will be a gift to hear. So thank you so very, very much.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I hope you found that conversation enlightening, and how we never know what anybody, is living through, and then also what can support others in their living through it. And I think that was at the core what Kory and I stand for, is paying forward in purposeful ways, and taking our life experiences, which is why we launched this podcast, the Fifi Uncensored podcast, to share life experiences. And because I am curious of many people's stories, why there is a vast amount of life experiences shared here, and how we love gathering people around the campfire and sharing those stories, because we don't have enough of taking this time and creating this connection with one another, and what this podcast stands for. And so it may not be about finances or baking cookies or, politics or motivational speaking, but hopefully it actually is motivational speaking in a way that sets a fire under yourself, and how you can share selflessly. And going forward, cannot wait to share the next In Q podcasts, and the many In Q podcasts coming up. So join, share, rank, be a part of this community. Love having you gather with us, love having the growing with us, and the support that we get and the feedback we get, and look forward to sharing some really cool conversations coming up. So take a listen, gather around the campfire. We drop every Monday. Thank you for listening, and go find your links so we can keep hearing and sharing and being a part of your community. Much love. Bye for now.